Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to dive on in and take a first look at Forbidden Lands Book of Beasts from my friends over at Free League Publishing. This is written by Andreas Markland, Matt Kay, and Matthias Lilja, with artwork provided by Henrik Rosenborg and Nicholas Brandt. This 192-page hardcover is available now, carries an MSRP of $39.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Book of Beasts. I really do appreciate that it's in the same style as the core books. For Forbidden Lands, there are two core books that came in the box set, and this fits into that box set. So I like that a lot as well. Before we jump on in, I do want to mention that the fine folks over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's very important that you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of Book of Beasts, but I want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find within. And I'm very curious because I have not cracked this open at all. I'm really curious what's in it because, as far as I understand, it is not only a bestiary. So let's take a look at the back. By the Nightwalker, get up! These beasts are mere chickens. Shield Maiden Armanda pulled her sword from the dragon spawn and wiped the steel on the merchant's fur collar as he lay there. Look at that. You're finally baptized. She grinned and looked at her companion's soiled face. A bestiary you can play. This monster manual for the multiple award-winning Forbidden Lands retro fantasy survival RPG, say that 5 times fast, is beautifully illustrated and filled to the brim with murderous monsters and lethal encounters. The contents also include rules for traps, rare tomes, and alchemy, as well as a system for playing Forbidden Lands solo. As I mentioned, it's not just a bestiary. So let's jump on in. Got a cool spread to open up with. Nicholas Brandt, their artwork there. I'm really pleased to see Free League Publishing continue to support Forbidden Lands. Now, you may recall a few years ago when Forbidden Lands first came out, I really liked it a ton. And it was one of my favorite games of the year when it came out. And Free League Publishing has other fantasy role-playing games. And I really love the fact that we still get more material for Forbidden Lands, even though Free League Publishing has Symborum, Ruins of Symborum. They just recently came out with the really fantastic Dragonbane. So I'm very pleased to see that we keep getting releases for Forbidden Lands. In fact, I just recently had shared a first look at the Blood March. So I have a review of that on the very near horizon too. So it looks like these are the monsters that we have that are included in Book of Beasts. So what I'll do is I will kind of give a description of each, and then one of these we'll actually take a deeper dive into and see what exactly is the actual entry breakdown. So we've got the amphibian. Amphibians are large frog-like humanoids capable of breathing air as well as water. They are found in rivers, lakes, and bays, but have a special fondness for deeper waters. One can occasionally glimpse their sentinels armed with lesters like motionless statues on skerries and rocks, carefully watching the movements of the land folk. That is some sweet artwork as well. So how many pages are we going to get? So looks like 3 pages plus the art page. So we've got the amoeba. Amoebas are primitive predators that feed by absorbing other creatures into their shapeless bodies. One of my favorite fantasy monsters, the basilisk. Basilisks are large, semi-intelligent reptiles with great predatory claws. They are exceptionally aggressive and feared killers with poisonous breath and a petrifying gaze. The basilisk's scales make it difficult to harm, but the beast has one major weakness. Its life force is always bound to the cockerel's egg, coated with toad poison, from which it once hatched. This artwork is awesome. We've got Bogman. Bogmen are the greedy and vengeful ghosts of slaves, prisoners of war, and other unfortunate individuals who were buried alive in the wetlands as sacrifices to the gods. Their tortured souls have merged with the bog's vegetation and manifest themselves as humanoid creatures of moss, roots, and decaying leaves, dripping with swamp water, with twisted skeletal faces that stare hatefully at anyone who disturbs their undead rest. Swamp Thing. Well, although Swamp Thing's a hero. Dread Raptor kind of looks almost like a dodo. The aggressive Dread Raptor is a giant carnivorous bird that is mostly found in Asleen. See the Blood March campaign book. I was just mentioning that earlier. But it can also be found on plains far from that arid land. Gatekeeper. Wow. Man, his artwork is just knocking me out. Gatekeepers are extra-dimensional creatures who, for reasons unknown, have come to the Forbidden Lands. There are strong indications that they are demonic in origin, but that classification is complicated by their burning hatred for other demons. Well. Giant Spectre. Giant specters are the departed souls of ancient titans who have a strange connection with the elves and the red wandering star in the sky. They manifest themselves as enormous humanoid ghosts, twisted beings with bodies composed of shadow and rotting flesh in equal measure. They mainly haunt the great forests, not least the regions around the elves and their settlements. Giant spider. My best friend Elliot Miller, who I reference all the time on my live show, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, hates spiders. He would not like this artwork. This artwork would creep him out. Giant spiders are aggressive predators hunting for prey in the forests of the Forbidden Lands. Despite their primitive and terrifying appearance, their intelligence is relatively advanced. The hatchlings hunt in packs, communicating with each other through clicking sounds generated with their mandibles. Older spiders are more solitary, and old females have telepathic powers, which they use to find and paralyze their victims. Oh, it looks like we get a few pages devoted to the spiders. I think there's hatchlings and giant spiders. We have the Greater Golem. A greater golem is a humanoid and often very roughly cut creature of stone, inside which the spirit of a convicted traitor is fettered as an offering to the gods. They are mute colossi of ancient rage, bound by equally ancient runes. Imp. Imps are magical beings of unknown origins, small humanoid creatures that move through the air on demon-like wings. Some say they are demons from a world populated by the souls of dead sorcerers. Others argue that they are the accumulated result of all failed spells in the Forbidden Lands. The Iron Dragon. Iron dragons are huge, wingless dragons that live deep underground. Unlike their cousins on the surface, they are no predators, but feed by absorbing metals they extract from magma, crystals, and rocks. The iron dragon's hunger for these metals, which they use to strengthen their teeth, claws, and scales, is almost insatiable. Mara. The Mara is a magical being that haunts humanoid creatures in their sleep. Linked to anxious dreams and mental torment, they mainly manifest themselves in one of two forms. One appears spontaneously in the dream, normally in the guise of a demonic cat or a sexless corpse partially covered in fur. The other is summoned by dream sorcerers. See Wynairomancers in the campaign module, the Blood March, and can assume the form of just about anything. But its appearance is always twisted and horrifying, and summoned Maras always bear the features of the dream sorcerer that conjured it from the shadows of dreams. Mire Drake. Mire drakes are strange amphibian predators living in lakes, rivers, and quagmires. They mainly feed on saurians, amphibians, and other aquatic creatures, but occasionally they venture onto land to hunt or mark their territory by spreading death and destruction. The Mummy. We'll take a deep dive into the Mummy. Mummies are the embalmed remains of ancient lords and great warriors. They are a higher form of undead, created through long forgotten death magic. They have retained their physical bodies, albeit in a shriveled and twisted condition. Their minds are essentially intact as well, as with the closely related Death Knights. Mummies are filled with bitter envy of the living and always hungry for human entrails, something their hollow bodies lack. Fortunately, they are bound to their burial chambers, although there are stories of roaming mummies hunting down trespassers and stolen burial goods. So we have a lore roll. So depending on the number of successes, is how much insight a player character will have into mummies. If you're not overly familiar with Forbidden Lands, it does utilize a version of the Year Zero engine, which powers a lot of the freely publishing role-playing games. And you'll have a pool of six-sided dice, which you'll roll, and you're looking to get a success, and successes are on sixes. So you'll only need one success to be successful, but depending on the number of successes you might roll, shows just how well you've done something. So, of course, the more successes, the better the result. So we've got a random encounter. Looks like we've got a couple of random encounters. We get our stat block. Another aspect of Forbidden Lands that I really do like is with monster attacks. Not all of them have these tables, but many of them do, where the game master is going to roll to see what sort of attack the monster is going to use. Makes combats far more unique and interesting, as opposed to, oh, yes, this creature just rolls to attack, rolls to attack, rolls to attack. So here we've got the Lordly Strike, Rage Attack, Chill of Death, Breath of Death, Unholy Summoning, and Heart Constriction. Then we get what resources are available, and resources are essentially kind of like crafting items that you can get from the corpse of one of these defeated monsters. So we've got the Nature Spirit. Nature spirits are partially immaterial, parasitic creatures that have developed a symbiotic relationship with human settlements in the Forbidden Lands. They feed on the vitality of physical life forms, plants and small animals, as well as intelligent creatures. Nature spirits have no bodies, but are bound to physical places such as cairns, gates, and the primitive idols of hay and straw that are often found in fields around the villages. They manifest themselves as twisted, vaguely humanoid figures composed of twigs, stones, ears of grain, and other material from the environment around them. Interesting. The Possessor. Possessors are sheets of blood mist that take physical form by possessing other creatures. It is unclear whether the Possessor is a more powerful form of bloodling or a separate entity sprung from the same demonic gases. It looks like we've got, do we have a few pages devoted to it? No, sorry, we have those three. We've got the Rat King. Rat Kings are demonic creatures sent by Pax Ursinia, a demon lord associated with death and decay, who for hundreds of years has fought to enter the world through the Demon Gate and Shadowgate Pass. Rock Trolls. Rock trolls are trolls that have partially turned and, because of their old age and sensitivity to sunlight, have withdrawn to the darkness of the great forests. They are often found near ruins, forest temples, and similar places that tend to attract delicious humanoids. Yummy. Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter is a creature that is hard to classify, capable of transforming into the creatures it devours and absorbs into its gelatinous, transformable body. It can assume the appearance of intelligent and unintelligent beings alike, but finds it difficult to mimic humanoid communication and often gives itself away through its clumsy attempts. Scolopendra. Scolopendras are primitive predators living in the damp, near-surface parts of underground Ravenland. It is long, thin, and flat, with numerous legs and serrated jaws, dripping with toxic substances. Although the Scolopendra is smaller than the abyss worm, farmers consider it an even greater scourge, as the sounds of trampling feet or digging shovels tend to attract its attention. The Swarming Death. Swarming Death is an all-consuming cloud of flesh-eating locusts and other insects that plagues the Forbidden Lands on a regular basis. The phenomenon seems to have some connection with the Western Wind and unknown lands beyond the mountains. Some say it originated in faraway Dragonland. Others point to their kinship with the insectoids and their rapid expansion through the underground realms. Tubalok. Tubaloks are merged from parts of corpses and carcasses that have risen from the dead. In the Forbidden Lands, the beast is primarily associated with the dark arts of necromancers, but some scholars believe the practice of creating Tubalok originated in faraway Dragaland. A lot going on in Dragaland. Twisted Ent. Twisted Ents are demonic tree creatures that have heeded the wicked call of the demons. They were elves once, but turned into trees to protect the mysteries of life and nature. But the demonic plague that filled them with bloodlust and consumed their minds. Their rubies are now enclosed in clusters of demonic larvae, with serpentine tentacles slithering where the crown used to be. The Russ brothers sometimes make use of twisted Ents in battles and sieges, but most of them wander aimlessly through the Forbidden Lands, spreading death and demonic devastation. Get the Undead Dragon. Undead dragons are vicious carrion eaters that haunt burial sites, old battlefields, and similar places in the Forbidden Lands where large numbers of corpses and carcasses have amassed. Their origins are unknown, but some scholars believe them to be ordinary dragons who refuse to accept their own death. Ah, yes, the vampire. Vampires are ancient human-like predators that feed on the blood of humanoid creatures. They are blessed with strange magical powers, including a powerful form of regeneration that makes them difficult to defeat in combat. On the other hand, without a daily intake of blood, they quickly grow weaker. Water troll. Water trolls are the offshoot of the troll species that has evolved to live in water. They are amphibian creatures that seem primarily drawn to rivers and relatively shallow streams, where they hunt for food near the water's edge. Like other trolls, they are indiscriminate omnivores, although the flesh of land-living humanoids is particularly enticing. Here we got the Will-O-the-Wisp, which, strangely enough, I see in a lot of fantasy role-playing games. It's referred to as Will-O-Wisp. I had always heard Will-O-the-Wisp. Will-O-the-Wisps are said to be the ghosts of druids, raven sisters, and other holy figures who were burned to death for their religious work. They manifest themselves as huge floating skulls surrounded by flames, twisted by their undying hatred for the world. Wolf Shadow. The Wolf Shadow is an immaterial being that possesses humanoid creatures and gradually turns them into night wargs. The transition can take several years, and the possessed remain in control of their own body for a long time, except when they are exposed to large quantities of blood or other things that trigger the wolf shadow's predatory instincts. I think that was it. I think that was our last monster. So we've got random encounter tables based on terrain. Oh, here we go. So we actually have a breakdown of various different encounters. One thing that's very interesting about Forbidden Lands is it is a very sandboxy sort of fantasy role-playing game. And in fact, one table's land is going to be completely different than another table's land, because in the core box, you get a map and then you have stickers. So your players discover different places and you actually put the stickers on the map for where these things are located. Very interesting. And we have all these different encounters that, even though you notice there are only a few paragraphs, there's actually quite a bit cooking in these encounters. So it looks like we've got a good number, 36. So now we have some Game Master tools, traps, books, ballads, and grimoires. And you will notice, taking a look at the traps here, Forbidden Lands does on occasion use the 11 to 66 range. I think people refer to it as a D66. So that is those there. Here it's actually using a D666 table. Journeys. This is very cool. Rules for strongholds. There are rules in the player handbook for player strongholds because there is domain play that is built into Forbidden Lands. And then we've got our solo rules. These rules are a set of guidelines to help you play Forbidden Lands without a game master. While these rules are written assuming you'll be playing alone, they can be used as is with one or more friends, co-op, as well as in a traditional GM-led game with a focus on improvisation and zero prep play. Talking about the solo adventure. Of course, I was going to say, I'm sure we're going to have a variety of tables here. Journeying for one. Playing card oracles. In solo role-playing games, an oracle is a simple mechanic which can be used to randomly generate answers to questions and provide further information on a topic. Playing cards are used for the oracles here. So we got the yes, no, helpful, hazardous, theme oracles. Oh, wow, we got quite a few different oracles. Wilderness, kin, traits, combat oracles. Huh. And then we are going to, it looks like we're going to wrap up with some flavored text available to give to your players for each of the monsters that are included in Book of Beasts. Nice. Very cool. So this clocks in at 192 pages. So that's a look inside Forbidden Lands, Book of Beasts from Free League Publishing. Of course, I will have a review of Book of Beasts in the very near future. Sweet. Love the artwork. The artwork is outstanding. But that's kind of a thing in Forbidden Lands. The line art is really, really well done. Okay, so that is it for this time out. If you liked the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I upload videos, such as this first look, it'll also tell you when my live stream, The Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, here's hoping all of you out there get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.